Hey, all you space cats. Welcome to the Black Hole Podcast, Season 7, Episode 17. I'm your host, Mitch Miller, the most neutral candidate for President of the United States, and probably the most transparent. So before I talked about how when I was in college, a Supreme Court decision was passed that granted corporations personhood. That was the argument at the time. Apparently, what it was granting corporations the same rights of First Amendment rights as a citizen. It was in 2010. It wasn't when I guess they were talking about it when I was in college, but it's the 2010 Citizens United decision. Corporations are protected as citizens under the First Amendment. And this opened up corporations to be able to advertise for politicians, basically, and be protected as a citizen. Free speech. So I said before corporations get these protections, they should have to pay the individual tax rate like a citizen, right? Like an individual citizen, like a person. So, as president, I'm here to protect the elderly. So here's how I would get Citizens United reversed, or here's one strategy I would take. I would form a group of lawyers, legal advisors, so on and so forth. And every time Medicare or Medicaid comes after a person's house for payment for bills, for medical payment for bills, even though they've died. This is a big thing right now. They can still come after the house. The children don't get the house. Every time a person is Medicare or Medicaid decides to go after someone's house, we're going to put forward a lawsuit in that person's name, even if they're deceased, coming after any corporation that benefited or took advantage of that Supreme Court decision for their back taxes. So the back taxes, if that corporation, if they paid the individual tax rate on profits starting in 2010 or from the date they took advantage of the ruling. So we're going to come after these corporations. It might be one at a time. It might be groups of them. We're going to enter thousands, tens of thousands of legal suits into the system coming after these corporations for their individual tax rate. Because if they paid their individual tax rate, then our medical insurance situation probably won't look the same. Part of this program will be the government will calculate the total amount of tax owed if the 500 largest U.S. corporations should have paid all their profit at the individual tax rate. And we're gonna take the top 500 U.S. companies and figure out what they would have owed if they would have paid at the individual tax rate on all of their profit from 2010, and we're gonna list those numbers publicly. So certainly some corporations didn't get their hands dirty in manipulating the political process, and they'll be exempt from this, right? If they didn't sneak around and form PACs and put all kinds of legal ads out there, if they just stayed neutral, like me, and didn't get involved, they'll be exempt. And there's thousands of companies, smaller corporations, that didn't get involved, so they have nothing to worry about. But that's one strategy I would deploy as president. We're not going to take old people's houses, dead people's houses, to pay for health insurance. if these companies that have been manipulating the system since 2010 would have paid what they should have, or what the Constitution is protecting them at, then things would be a little bit different. So maybe we can deploy this strategy now. The other thing I want to talk about is charging for streaming high school athletics. Okay? Now, my high school's basketball team went to states this year, and they went a year or two ago as well. Now, all year long, the high school, Franklin High School, where I went to school, they have a thing called FHS Studios. It's a YouTube channel, and they stream all of the athletics. Students run it, they run the cameras, they set it up. And FHS Studios, once their basketball team gets to a certain round in the championships in the States, they're not allowed to broadcast those games because someone wants to make money off of them, I guess. And you're basically taking aunts and uncles and elderly people that can't make it out of their house, can't drive to Harrisburg to watch the state championship. You're making them pay a subscription fee to watch these games. And I think this is absurd, okay? We should stop making money off of student athletes. It should be totally transparent. But secondly, if you trained these kids on the equipment that they broadcast these state tournaments on, they would record these games probably at a very low cost, or if they would volunteer to bring those games to their hometown in HD or whatever. So you can't tell me that the camera people and the commentators and all these people cost this much money and we have to charge and we have to black out these local high schools' broadcasts of these. And basically they have to pay a fine if they want to broadcast. So I'm going to start as president an initiative for transparency in the NCAA, the College Athletic Association. And this will be connected to an initiative with the state athletic associations. In Pennsylvania, we have the PIAA, Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association. But at the NCAA, all salaries will be listed. All salaries of the NCAA will be publicly available. They might already be. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. If not, they're going to be public. And the president or the top guy at the NCAA better not make more than the president of the United States. Or I think we have our first candidate for a non-lethal pistol duel or probably a wrestling match, right? And I think, we're talking about paying college athletes, and so I think this is a good opportunity. This is a starting point, right? The starting point for college athletes, and they're unionizing and stuff. I think what you should do, college athletes, is tie the editing room, the control room, the cameramen. All of those should be run by students, first of all. And that's what this initiative is going to do. But second of all, they should get their salary. It should be based off of your compensation as a student athlete. Basically, you want to tie together everything it would take to broadcast a game. So on my end, I'm going to try to start training students in high school, right? As I said, Pennsylvania has the PIAA. It goes state by state. Each state has their own athletic association. What I want to do as president is put a professional HD high-definition camera at every high school so that they can capture their sporting events, their athletics in HD. And this will allow us to train students on this equipment so that if that team makes it to states, they'll know how to. And that's what I'm saying is each state must carry the same equipment statewide. So in Pennsylvania, if you get a good deal on HD cameras, through Canon, then get that deal, and we'll have grants to get all the Canon HD cameras in every high school in the state of Pennsylvania. And then we're going to work with the NCAA and the colleges and try to get the same equipment in the athletics of those colleges and those arenas, so that these students can come and train on the same equipment and know how to use it in the same editing software and everything like that. Now, this is still free market. Each state can make a deal with whatever camera makers they want. We're not saying the whole country has to have the same camera, but this makes it uniform so that a student can learn on equipment and at least cover the state championship of their high school tournament. And I know I'm going to get flack from the Cameramen's Union, but let's face it, you're going to be replaced with robots pretty much. Why not let the kids learn the trade, and maybe they'll preserve those jobs rather than replacing all these camera positions with AI robots, right? But that's the thing, and that's something that's, these leaders, they're not in touch with the hardships of the average person. They have been getting free stuff and free subscriptions for 20 or 30 years, right? If the president of the United States, the current president, wanted to watch a high school state championship, they would have it all set up for him to watch it on 3 TVs, and he'd have no idea how much it costs to do it or anything like that. So that's why you need someone like me to really break it down and work on these issues when I see them and come up with solutions. All right, I want to talk about a theory I have. It involves physical currency, printed paper money, and the pandemic. Now, for 100, 200 years in the United States, we've traded physical currency hand to hand, handing over dollar bills, quarters, whatever, to cashiers, to people, individuals. And my theory is that as we do this, we get micro exposures of various diseases, the common cold, the flu. We get little micro exposures. We accidentally touched our mouth. We accidentally itched our ear or itched our eye right after touching a dollar bill. We didn't. So you get these micro exposures, and it keeps our immune system up. Now, I know there's going to be a bunch of doctors and physicians that say this is ludicrous and this is a horrible theory, and but it's just a theory. I don't have anything to back it up. It's just a theory that came to my mind when I was in a mental hospital. And so now we're moving towards cards, swipe-in cards, credit cards, debit cards, and especially cards where we don't even have to type in on a keypad. We're not touching anything. There's no signature. There's these tap cards, and these came about, roughly in 2015, 2016. I noticed them in Europe when I was over there for the first time. So we stopped touching keypads. We stopped touching pens to sign. We stopped trading physical currency, and then bam, we have this worldwide pandemic, right? It's just a theory. It's something I'm putting out there. But that's why my belief is that physical currency, paper money, coin money, should never be phased out. We should never lose that, in case it does keep our immune systems up, in case it does prevent horrible pandemics, and for many other reasons. I have many other reasons why physical currency should never be phased out. So, but as president, I'm willing to cautiously roll out a U.S.-backed electronic currency through the Treasury, right? For a while I was running for Secretary of the Treasury. Even though that's not an elected position, I was pushing to make it an elected position. And so this is why I was running for that. I would roll this out through the Treasury. Now, the Fed is going to want to do it, right? Because they control all the currency and they print all the money. But I think we stick with the Treasury and we leverage the Fed. We leverage them for many things. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ensure as president. But number one, become more transparent about the salaries and bonuses of these bankers on the Fed, in the Fed, around the Fed, running these banks. Think of the upsides. An electronic currency system through the Treasury, we could allow for a $0 fee on transactions for small businesses, right? Instead of you use a card now, there's a fee. Someone has to absorb the fee. Some people charge more for using a card. We can do away with that. We can be transparent, a truly transparent Treasury. We can see where the fees go and not in bankers' pockets, right? We can take some of the power away from the Federal Reserve. Our money is safer with the Treasury rather than a bunch of wealthy bankers, in my opinion. And so basically I'm going to use the power of the presidency to make sure, because this is going to come. Other countries are doing it. They're going to roll out an electronic currency. I'm going to make sure a bunch of bankers and the Federal Reserve don't. I'm going to use the power of the Treasury and push for more of this to be put on the Treasury so that they don't write in a bunch of, graft to make a bunch of money off of rolling out a new currency. Because that's what they're going to do. That's what the wealthy bankers do. So I'm going to make sure we don't get taken if I'm voted president of the United States of America. We're going to push, if there is an electronic currency under my watch, it's going to go through the Treasury, and we're going to leverage the Federal Reserve and make right a lot of wrongs that have occurred in the banking industry in my lifetime and throughout the past 150 years. So vote for me, President of the United States. Until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis.